Blessings and welcome to the path to freedom. This beautiful path where we get to set ourselves free to forever soar into higher vibrations, into higher levels of consciousness, where we get to set ourselves free to forever allow for greater and grander expressions of who and what we are to emerge from within, always from within, and where we get to set ourselves free to be in ever-expanding peace and love and joy and harmony and wholeness and abundance and beauty and all these beautiful divine qualities that are the truth and the essence of who and what we are. But also we get to set ourselves free from the lower vibrations, the fears, the worries, the doubts, the sense of not being enough, the sense of not having enough, the sense of lack, scarcity, separation, and all these egoic structures. So welcome. I'm very grateful and honored that you are choosing to join me, that you are choosing to tune in, and that you are choosing to participate in the unfoldment of who and what you are. My name is Daniel Roquéo, and yes, and nothing and everything. So the topic for today is the principles of transformation. The principles of transformation. And as I have been midwifing an audio course lately, I have been turning my attention a lot to how transformation happens and the elements of transformation. And I've come to realize that, as with all these things, all these practices and all these principles that we're talking about, they are so simple. Waking up is so simple. Allowing for freedom to emerge is so simple. It's not always easy, but the principles are very simple. And so it is with transformation. Now, transformation is what happens not through change. We are not trying to make ourselves change. We're not trying to grow ourselves to change, but transformation is that which happens when we have an insight, when we have a realization, when we move from one level of consciousness to another, and then allowing that shift in consciousness to guide and lead and move us. Obviously, this is not only about inner work. This is not only about work in transformation in consciousness. Actually, it's not a work in transformation. It is not only a work in consciousness, but as we are being renewed in our minds, we need to follow suit. We need to move in alignment with that higher realization. We need to move in alignment with that expanded level of consciousness. So once again, the principles are simple, but they're not always easy to adhere to, and they're not always easy, as is the case with most of us. I'm having so many conversations with individuals who absolutely have caught the next great and grand version of themselves. They have caught what is theirs to do. They have caught what they need to do. They have caught what they need to release and let go of, and yet, so it's not always easy. But these principles, and actually it's only one, but how it has come to me is in 3 iterations of it. And so the first one is that if we want anything to change in our lives, we need to change. If we want to experience more peace in our lives, we need to begin to move in alignment with experiencing peace. If we want to experience greater abundance in life, we need to begin to make choices that are in alignment with abundance. We need to begin to make choices that serve the emergence of abundance. So that's the first principle. If we want anything to change in our lives, we need to change. No change ever comes from without. The trees, as they grow, no one is just adding branches to them or extensions to their branches. But the trees, they grow from within. The caterpillar, as it emerges into the, or as it transforms into the butterfly, it does not happen from without, but it happens from within. As the caterpillar moves into the chrysalis, into the cocoon, and begins to move through the metamorphosis, what happens is that new cells begin to emerge from within the caterpillar. And the caterpillar's immune system, the caterpillar's innate cells, they are instinctively trying to kill all of these new cells because they're foreign, they're hostile. So there's great resistance within the caterpillar. But as the butterfly's cells begin to proliferate to the point where they completely overrun the cells of the caterpillar, the transformation is happening. So, and the same it is with that magnificent oak tree that emerged out of the acorn. So if we want to change, we need to change from within. That's the first principle. The second principle, or another way of saying it, is that unless we change, nothing is going to change. If that caterpillar does not move into the chrysalis, if it does not willingly, it's not really willingly because it's not a conscious choice. I would imagine that the caterpillar just instinctively finds itself moving into the cocoon or weaving in the cocoon. But unless it goes into that cocoon, there's going to be no butterfly. Unless we begin to make new choices in our lives, and unless we begin to move in a new direction in our lives, nothing is going to change. It doesn't matter how much we want things to change. Unless we change, nothing is going to change. So it is all up to us, which is such a beautiful thing. This is where the freedom happens. Because in every single moment, in any given moment, we have the ability to make new choices. In every single moment, we have the ability to make a higher choice. Every single moment is a new beginning. There's nothing holding us or keeping us in a place or a space if we make the choice to move in a new direction, if we make the choice to get out of that space. So unless we make that choice, nothing is going to change. Unless we change, unless we up-level our ways of being and moving in the world, nothing is going to change. Right? The third principle, or the third way of saying it, is that when we change, everything begins to change. If we are out driving, for instance, we may be driving down the highway, and it's a very, very, very straight highway, and we may have been driving down this highway for hours or days. The moment we choose to get off this particular highway, the destination of our lives or our journey is completely altered. And it doesn't matter if we're barely moving the steering wheel. The moment we get off the path that we are, the moment we make the choice to move in a new direction, everything in our lives will begin to change. It's not always a sudden change. It is not always a dramatic change. But the moment we make a new decision, the moment we make a new choice, the trajectory of our lives has begun to shift. So transformation, as we're being continuously renewed, as we are continuously allowing for greater and grander expressions to emerge from within, it is not always about making those big choices. But sometimes, and oftentimes I would say, it's more about the small, the seemingly subtle, seemingly insignificant, seemingly incremental choices. There are these choices that in over a period of time they are the ones that make a big difference. Obviously, the big choices make a big difference as well. But as they are not as frequent as the small little choices, just beginning with one new choice, just beginning to start, I don't know, exercising every day, just beginning by choosing to move into meditation every day, just beginning by releasing sugar, just making that one small choice. Every journey begins with a step, and oftentimes it's a small step. It's a small step. So we're not looking for the big life-changing choices. They will come. They will come. But just making a tiny little choice that we have not made before, allowing that we feel is in more alignment with who we wish to be or how we wish to show up in life, what we wish for our lives to be about, what we wish to experience. That one little choice, over a period of time, it's going to make a whole lot of difference. And out of that one choice, new choices will begin to emerge. So when we change, everything will begin to change. Everything will begin to change. And oftentimes, as humans, we, out of our ability to trust the goodness of spirit, the benevolence of life, we believe that we need to have it all figured out before we can make that choice. We believe that things need to be so lined up, that all the ducks need to be in a row, that the conditions and circumstances need to be just perfect before we make that one choice. But that's not how spirit works. That's not how the sacred laws work. But when we make that choice, that's when the conditions and circumstances, and when we stay in alignment with the choice. If we make a choice and then move back to our previous lesser choices, if we make a new higher choice and then move back to the lesser choices, to our habitual choices, to our historically frequently most chosen ones, then the sacred laws, then what we're saying yes to is not the new, but we're reverting back to saying yes to what we used to say yes to. But the moment we begin to say yes to something greater, something bigger and better, and begin to move in the direction of that, that's when the conditions and circumstances begin to line themselves up. That's when we begin to experience how serendipity happens. I'm using the word serendipity. It is not serendipitous. It is not coincidences. It is not haphazardness. It is not happenstance. It is not chance. It is not luck. It is us having moved in alignment with something greater, something grander. We're locking on to a higher possibility for our lives. And as God is always for itself, and as we and God are one, it means that everything is for us. All is well, something wonderful is always happening. Everything is working for the highest good. Always, always, always. When we begin to move in a new direction, as Paulo Coelho so beautifully puts it, the whole universe conspires to see that good realized. Or we could say that the whole universe rises up to meet us at this new vibration. So we need to begin to move in the new direction. Waiting for things to fall into our lap, waiting for the good to just happen without any kind of inner work in consciousness and outer work in how we move and towards what we move, that's not just going to happen. If we want to get from here to there, we need to begin to move from where we are to where we want to get, towards that. And then obviously, as we begin to move along the way, Spirit is going to guide and lead and move us to ever greater expansions, into ever greater versions of who and what we are. So we may begin having a beautiful vision for our lives and begin to move in that direction, only to find along the way that that vision will be replaced, it will be expanded upon, it'll emerge into something even greater. But once again, the principles of transformation, they are very, very simple. If we want anything to change in our lives, we need to change, period. Unless we change, nothing is going to change in our lives, period. When we begin to change, everything begins to change in our lives, period. Isn't this beautiful? I mean, isn't it wonderful to know that we have absolute power, authority over our own lives? We have responsibility. We have the full responsibility for our lives. But when we begin to assume that responsibility, when we begin to take that responsibility, there is nothing stopping us. We're not. A caterpillar is meant to be but two things. It is meant to be a caterpillar and to transform into a butterfly. A rose is meant to be but a rose. A dog is meant to be but a dog. It's not going to be a cat or a bat or a mouse or anything else. But a dog is a dog. But us humans, we are not stuck ever in a particular function or a particular lot or in a particular condition or circumstance, but we have the absolute freedom to make new choices all the time. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in, for participating. Oh, the invitation. The invitation obviously is for us to examine, to witness and observe the choices that we are making. Are these in alignment with what we wish to experience? Are we willing to do the inner work of moving in the direction of what we wish to experience? So that was both invitations and questions. Another question, well, the most powerful question at this point, I believe, is these choices that I'm making today, these choices that we are making today, are they in alignment? Are they in alignment with the good that we desire? Are they moving us in the direction of the good that we desire? So the invitation is for us to look at our lives, and the invitation is for us to ask these beautiful, powerful questions. Now, thank you so much for tuning in, for participating, for joining me. Until we meet again, I bless your day, and I bless your way, knowing that right where you are, all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for your highest good. With much love, many blessings. Namaste.